This week on Seeking Wisdom, we're going to talk about how to stay on point while you travel. The haters couldn't keep us away.
Hopefully the haters have unsubscribed since last episode when you told them all to go away.
Now it's just true community. We're all here about positivity, love, and trying to get better
Seeking
every day.
Wisdom. All right, so I wanted to... we got a lot of good feedback when we don't talk about tech and startup stuff. The challenge is it's hard to come up with those ideas, so keep us posted on the things you want to hear. But this one came up because you have a bunch of travel coming up, and traveling is something that comes up a lot when it comes with work. Like, how do you manage travel?
Yep.
How do you stay healthy? How do you stay productive? And I've traveled with you, and you are a scientist when it comes to travel.
Dave has had the unfortunate experience of actually sharing an Airbnb with me. It was a nice, swanky Airbnb.
It was great, but
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell that you're a man of travel routines, and this is why I wanted to have this because, I told you I would be somewhere at 10, and at 9:58, and I wasn't there. You texted me, "Where you at?" And I said, "It's not 10 yet. I'm gonna be there."
We always show up early. We get there
I
early.
also traveled with 3 bags, 2 big suitcases.
JV.
That I got clowned on for.
All right,
okay,
let's talk about that.
so yeah, talk about travel. When did you when did you start traveling a lot for work?
Long time now. I'd say the last, my whole career pretty much. So I've been traveling a bit. I'd say really in the last 10 years. I have a bunch of traveling coming up. I'm going to be speaking at SaaStock in Dublin, Ireland next week. Then Mind the Product in London the week after that. Then I have Minnesota. I'm going to be speaking at the Converted Conference. And then I'm going to be doing some speaking in Portugal in November.
Man, you really are global. We are taking this drift thing global. It's not a joke. Yeah,
it's not a joke. We're building a global brand.
Starting in Dublin next week.
That's it. We're not building a Boston company. We're building a global brand.
I love it.
Anyway, so I've been traveling for a while, and I am a man of routine.
Yeah.
Right, and I love routine, and especially when it comes to traveling, because I actually don't like traveling that much. I'm not one of those people that have wanderlust that like to travel a lot. My dream is just to stay home, right?
Yeah,
and
hanging
travel.
out and then kayak in your backyard or something like that.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so,
but
when
you had to get out of that comfort zone. You have to travel a lot.
Yeah, so I put many other things. I've public speaking. I don't like public speaking either. Yeah. But I've pushed myself out of my comfort zone. And so when it comes to traveling, one of the things that I learned kind of along the way was how to travel light, right? And how to be efficient about what you bring with you. And I think, back in the day, I was JV. Like Dave is currently.
It's true.
It's so JV. It's true. And I used to overpack, which is I think that most people do. So overpack, bring lots of stuff. And then I notice, just reps and sets. You'd notice I don't use most of the stuff. What am I bringing? And all this stuff for. And then, it hit me wait a second. I'm always traveling to, business locations pretty much, right? Or I'm not traveling to Congo, right? I'm not going to be stranded in the desert. Right. I am wherever I'm going, they have a target.
Right, you're not going to be in Soma in San Francisco being where can I get a deodorant around here?
Yeah, I just go 2 feet, right? I usually travel to San Francisco, New York, and other locations like that. And so I can walk 5 feet and buy the stuff that I need. Yeah. And so I thought about that when it came to the usual stuff that you think about, which is toothbrushes and all that kind of stuff that you worry about. But then I took it to another degree and said well, if I need to buy another pair of jeans, I'll just buy another pair of jeans for $50 or $20 or whatever they cost.
So the reason why I am fascinated by this is not because of the packing light thing.
Yeah.
I think it just it reduces the load on you mentally that you're traveling. It's kind of you have travel coming up. Today's Tuesday. I'm leaving Wednesday. Therefore, between now and then, I got to do X, Y, and Z. It lessens that load.
Oh yeah,
on
it's
you.
the cognitive load that we've talked about before. That I think happens to all of us with things like to-do lists, and this is a different form of a to-do list. So you put this pressure on about traveling and what you need, and all I need is, and my wife will say you're leaving tomorrow. Aren't you going to start packing yet? Have you packed? I'm no. I'll just pack like, that morning, when I'm leaving, or last thing in the middle of the night, and all I need is my laptop, power, different sorts of power, especially if I'm doing international, my passport, my wallet, my phone, and, whatever I'm wearing, and maybe another change of clothes, right? Like, I don't need that much, right? I'm not going into different scenarios. And so when I traveled with Dave had multiple bags. We went to San Francisco, mind you, from Boston. He had bags on bags on bags. I've never seen so many bags, man. I was like, what? It was like a comedy.
Saw you at the airport.
And I was just like, what?
I saw you at the airport, and I was like, do you need something? Like, is our flight canceled? Are we not going anywhere?
I have a backpack on. I'm like, where are we going? We're going to San Francisco. He's got a bag and this, and one of the ones that you wheel that's a giant, you can fit a body inside of it. I don't know what this guy was carrying, but all I need, like, I'm going to... When I go to San Francisco, I'll go for, pretty much the work week. I'll have a backpack that has my laptop in it and a change of clothes.
You
and
wear like one pair of jeans 4 days in a row. So,
yeah. And if I need something else, then I bring some like running shoes or something. But if I need something else, then I just, I might end up buying it there.
So anybody that's listening, I think, you may or may not know Elias, but now David and like they have this competition. I feel like it's this competition between you two of like who can pack lighter. Like last week, Elias was traveling somewhere for the weekend, and he actually had nothing.
Yeah. So I went to Europe last year with I think it was last year or the year before with Elias, and we went to Switzerland, Geneva. Then we went to Italy, to Milan, and then finally to Florence. And so this was like we did this all in 4 days. We did this 4-day trip, and we went and we had nothing. We had one backpack, and all we had in the backpacks were laptops, right? We had laptops and tiny little backpacks, and just like got on the plane and just left.
I'm glad I didn't go. I would have been laughing.
Dave would have freaked out. And one other thing I learned when I try to avoid red eyes. Just talking about preparation for the flight in this right now, red eyes. But I've learned how to be better on the red eye, and I learned that I used to travel with this old. He's not that old, but he was in the past a consultant at Accenture Consulting, and so he traveled every week professionally. And he had this crazy routine. Like we would do these red eyes back from San Francisco, and I hated them. They were miserable. I couldn't get comfortable. I couldn't sleep. And he would show up at the airport with yoga pants on, a hoodie, right, and basically like slippers. This guy looked like he was going to bed, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And he's like professional. So he'd go and a set of headphones. He'd go on the plane, get on. Then he'd pop a Dramamine, right, over the counter, and the guy would be asleep with his hood on. I was always freezing. It gets really cold in the flying overnight, and I couldn't sleep. And the guy would be asleep from the minute he sat in his seat, and the whole time I'm just looking at him pissed off. I'm like, this mother is sleeping the whole time. He's asleep, and he doesn't wake up until we hit the ground in Boston. Then just gets up and walks away.
That's where you got. So I wanted to ask you, because this is what never traveled you before. We showed up at the airport. You had a T-shirt and sweatpants on.
Yeah, and a hoodie in case it gets cold.
And that was to me, that was game changer. I was like, man, if this guy, he's going to show up, businessman like this, going to show up in sweatpants. Like,
got you 6-hour flight, man. You got to be prepared.
So these are lessons.
These are lessons for getting there. All right. In terms of getting to the airport, I get there probably like Dave, pretty early. I don't like being rushed around. Elias, who we mentioned, is the exact opposite. Yeah. So he's the guy who have you in cold sweats. I'd be getting through the boarding gate, getting ready for my flight, and he would call me, and he'd still be at home.
You're like, this guy's not coming.
Yeah, I'm like, did you pack yet? He's like, not yet. I'm like, flight leaves in an hour, and somehow he always makes it.
When did you make a decision like, I don't want to take red eyes because they suck? Like, is that a decision?
Yeah, I think mostly the red eyes were to San Francisco. Coming back from San Francisco, one thing that changed was a bunch of the flights now have Wi-Fi coming back. So I was like, all right, game changer. I can work. Otherwise, I just like not being able to work and not being able wasting a whole day just to fly back, I would push on red eyes. Yeah. I try not to do them, although I did one last time I came back from San Francisco.
It's actually super productive. Like if you have a good Wi-Fi and you're up there, because you can't do anything else.
That's definitely one of my things when I travel is I'm way more productive than I'm when I'm at home.
All right, so a couple other things. You're a man of routines, right?
Yes.
We've talked about a lot on this podcast. Wake up, work out, do yoga, read, whatever. Mm-hmm. Do you try, like when you're traveling, even if you're gone for an extended period of time, do you try to stick to that schedule? Like, does that keep you normal?
100%. So I stick to that schedule whether I'm traveling or not. And so, and Dave can attest to that, having bunked with me.
Every morning I'm like, where the hell is this guy?
Yeah, I'm gone. It's like 5:30
It's like 5:30 on West Coast time. We're still running behind. He's like, I'm at Phil's. Let me know if you need anything. It's 5:30 a.m.
Pitch black out, and I'm over there. I'm reading. I'm doing my routine. I have my Kindle with me. I'm reading. I'm kind of easing into the day. I'm kind of a slow start.
But that probably wasn't something that you were just like born with. Like, did you have to train yourself to? Like, you obviously made a conscious decision to say, I'm going to try to stick to my routine when I travel.
Absolutely. And so the more that I've been working on different morning routines and the since I've seen benefits from them, the more that I've tried to keep that strict structure and routine when I'm traveling.
And it probably makes you probably feel better about traveling. Like, I'm away, but I still feel like I'm in my zone a little bit.
Yeah. And so it helps me deal with like jet lag and being in a new scene, new scenario. It just makes me way more productive.
Do you still try to like? For me, the hardest part about traveling is like keeping up with eating, because it's usually you're running around, the food is shitty, or you got to like do you try to have you learned something about food?
Oh yeah, so I stick to my routines on what I eat, and so like in the case that where we travel together, we had an Airbnb, so I try to go for an Airbnb now in certain cities. New York Airbnb suck.
So you can put stuff in the fridge.
Exactly. So I can have a fridge. I'll go to the I'll find a location that's in a neighborhood so I can go to a supermarket, load up on the stuff that I'm used to eating, and make sure all that stuff's back at the house. And I actually find with my routines, it's kind of easier in some ways, or as easy as kind of when I'm at home.
Yeah.
When it comes to eating.
All right. Last thing is like, you're a family guy. Mm-hmm. How do you... Is that the hardest part about traveling?
Yeah, it's the part. It's the part that I hate the most about traveling is just being away from my family. Like next week, like I said, I'm flying to Dublin, Ireland, and then London the week after. Right? What would have made sense and that's the Dublin conference is at the end of the week, and so is the London one. What would have made sense is for me to just stay a week in London or Dublin and not have to fly back. But I feel too guilty about that, and I miss my kids. And so, I'm going to fly to Dublin for 2 days, fly back to Boston, wait 3 days, and then fly back to London. Yeah. Not ideal, not efficient, but for me, it's about that family time.
Well, yeah, and you probably feel better. You probably feel better about the hassle, like the pain in the ass that it might be for you to get back and forth than you would. I feel like if you were just sitting in Dublin on a Saturday. Yeah. In a hotel room.
And so, but things like FaceTime and all that stuff make it way easier when it comes to traveling.
Cool. All right. Well, this was good. I wanted to, mix it up, talk about travel a little bit. So
keep your routines.
Stick to your routines.
Yeah. Get an Airbnb, except if you're in New York, because they suck.
What's the difference?
I don't know. Every time I get one in New York, it's kind of like a tenement, right? It's just like the quality bar is low. And for me, like I'm a fair weather traveler, right? So like when I travel, I like to be in a place that isn't like 10 times worse than where I am, where I live, and so like I don't want to be in some shithole,
you're
somewhere
sleeping on somebody's couch.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna distill all this down. Okay. If you take one thing away, the travel lesson that I need to practice is pack light. It's hard.
Dave
can't agree. You will not look at me right now and agree that it's hard. Look. But I'm telling you, I know it's hard.
Just pack your laptop, power, passport, credit card. You have a credit card, you're ready to roll.
Yeah, you can do it. You can get the things you need. All right. So that's a little seeking wisdom. Tell them, we appreciate the reviews. I think.
We appreciate the reviews. We're getting there.
We're getting there.
We're not at 200 yet. So I know you've got a review in there.
All right. So how to stay on point when you travel? Tweet at us. Let us know. What your experience has been like traveling for work, and let us know.
Let's do this.
All right.